Are you struggling with the OET listening test? Well, keep watching because in this video, I'm going to give you a simple method that you can use to improve your listening skills and get a higher score in your OET listening test. Hi there everyone, and welcome to this video from Swoosh English. My name is Grace and I am an expert OET teacher. Now, a lot of our students at Swoosh often ask us how they can improve their score in the OET listening test. Many people struggle with this part of the exam, especially part C, which can be really challenging. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to a simple but effective method that you can use in all parts of the OET listening test to help you feel more confident and hopefully improve your score to get the grade that you need. Let's get started then and talk about how you can improve your OET listening skills with this one simple method. Firstly, let's talk about why it's important to develop your listening skills. Why do you have to work on developing skills? Why is it not just enough to do practice papers? Well, firstly, it helps you adapt your style of listening for each specific task. As you may already know, for the OET listening test, you will have to listen for gist, specific information, detail, or even opinion and attitude. And this requires you to use specific listening skills. So it's very important that you know what the listening skills are, you've practiced them, and you can adapt them for each specific task in the listening test. If you do this, you will be more likely to get the correct answers because you'll be using the correct listening skill, which is appropriate for the task, and ultimately you will achieve a higher score in the listening test. So with that in mind, this method can be used for all parts of the OET listening test, and we are going to start by talking about part A. As you know, for part A, you will have to listen to a couple of consultations between a healthcare provider and a patient, and you'll need to complete a set of notes. You can see in this example, we have some notes relating to patient concerns, and then we have a few gaps that we need to complete. Let's go through the process then. Step 1 is to identify keywords. Before the audio starts, you will have some time to read through the notes, or in the case of part B and C, the questions. And in this time, identifying keywords is a really important step. Let's do that now for question 17. We can identify the keywords are fear and childhood. Remember that keywords tend to be nouns, verbs, adjectives, sometimes adverbs. So these are the types of words we're going to identify. Now, step 2 is to think about synonyms, because when you listen to the audio, they won't necessarily use exactly the same words or phrasing as you see in the notes or the questions. So it's very important that we think about how the answer might be paraphrased using synonyms. Let's think of some synonyms for the identified words here. So for fear, they might say scared of, afraid of, or they might even use the word phobia. For childhood, they might say since I was a kid, a child, or since I was young. So there are just a few different ways that you might hear this answer expressed in the audio. Now that we've done that, we are ready to listen. And as you're listening, you'll be keeping in mind that you might hear synonyms and paraphrasing. So with this in mind, let's go now to the tape script and try to complete the answer for question 17. I'd like to invite you to pause the video for a moment here, read through the tape script and try to find the answer. Remember, it might be paraphrased. Okay, well done. Hopefully you were able to identify that the answer was here, and that was hospitals, and you can see some paraphrasing. The patient says, ever since I was a kid, instead of saying since childhood. And they say, I've been really scared of hospitals, and in the notes it says fear of. So this is a perfect example of how what you hear in the audio is likely to be paraphrased from what you see in the notes. And using our method of identifying keywords and looking for synonyms is really, really helpful. Let's have a go now for question 18. Again, pause the video and see if you can go through that step So keywords and then thinking of synonyms and then looking in the tape script and try to find the answer. Well done. Let me show you. The answer was needles. You can see that in the notes, the patient, it says, has phobia, but in the audio, the patient actually says a fear of. So some more paraphrasing there. Have a go now at question 19. Try and find the answer and try and identify how it may have been paraphrased. Well done, everybody. Let me now show you. The answer for 19 was a terminal illness. And you can see that the patient says the biggest thing that frightens the life out of me. And in the notes, it says her greatest concern. So greatest concern is a different way of saying the biggest thing that frightens the patient. And then we have here terminal illness, which was the answer. So well done, everybody. Let's now move on and see how you can use the same method for listening part B. Here's an example of a question. We've got our context statement, our question, and our 3 answer options. Once again, we're going to use the preparation time to first look for the key words. So here are the keywords identified in the question and the answer options, and you can see that they are nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Next will be to look for synonyms. Now, you won't be able to make notes and write out synonyms for all of these keywords, but it's a good method to practice thinking of synonyms and just imagining how it might be paraphrased. And then we're going to listen. So let's take a go at this question now. Pause the video and go through those steps to try and identify the answer. Once you've identified the answer, look at how maybe it's been paraphrased. All right, hopefully you've done that. Let me now show you that the answer was B. And let's have a look in the tape script. So we can see that in the answer option, it says go to another area of the hospital. And in the tape script, the nurse says you'll have to go straight downstairs to occupational health. So that's just a different way of saying that they need to go to another area of the hospital. And then they go on to say they'll advise and evaluate you and possibly take some blood, which in the answer option, it says to be assessed. So another good example here of some use of paraphrasing. Now, one very important thing to note is that you should be careful of distractors. What are distractors? Well, this is when you see words and phrases from some of the incorrect answer options in the audio text. You might be led to think that they're the correct answer, but unfortunately, they are there to distract you. Let's take a look here. You can see option A says fill out the appropriate documentation. Now the nurse does mention that, saying I'll help you fill in a formal risk assessment. However, in the question it says what should the nurse do first? And as you can see, what they should do first is go downstairs to occupational health. After that, they'll be filling in documentation, but you can see that that is a distractor. Another distractor in this question, we have checked the patient's history for possible infectious diseases. In the audio, they do mention the status of the patient and says any history of bloodborne viruses, but they don't say that the nurse needs to check that. So you can see the idea has been mentioned, but it is not the correct answer. So be very, very careful and be aware that there are likely to be distractors in some of these questions. Now let's move on to listening part C. Once again, we have a question, or in this case, it's a sentence that you need to complete with 3 answer options. And once again, we're going to start by identifying our keywords. So there we have our keywords here. We're then going to think about our synonyms, and then we're going to listen. So let's have a go at this question with our listening part C tape script. Once again, pause this video and have a go at finding the answer. All right, how did you get on? Let me show you. The answer was B. And where was the answer? It was here. Let's take a look now and see if we can see any synonyms or paraphrasing. So in B, it talks about websites, and in the tape script, it mentions the internet and social media. And then in the answer option, it says the existence of conflicting accounts. And in the tapescript, it talks about so-called facts and misinformation. So we can see there that the answer option for B has been paraphrased quite a lot, but we can also see that it's the correct answer once we start to analyze it. Now, again, as with part B, in part C, you have to be careful of distractors. There was a distractor in this, which was option C, well-founded concerns about the extent of adverse reactions. It mentions side effects, so serious side effects is another way of saying adverse reactions. However, be careful, because in the answer option it says well-founded concerns, but actually in the audio it says that they are rare. So it's talking about these concerns not being well-founded at all. So once again, be careful of distractors in listening part C. Now let's recap that method that we've talked about in this video. Identifying keywords in the question and answer options will help you listen for the correct answer in the audio. In parts B and C, this will also help you to distinguish the difference between the answer options, which is a really important step. The answer will often be paraphrased with synonyms in the audio, so you must be prepared to listen out for this. And this is the case for all parts of the listening test. So this method, looking for keywords and listening out for synonyms and paraphrasing, will help you to identify the correct answers for parts A, B, and C, and hopefully improve your overall score. So that's it for this video. I hope that you found it useful and you're now ready to get started using that method in your OET listening practice. If you would like more help and support with your OET preparation, I'd like to tell you about a free OET course that we have for you at Swoosh English. The course introduces you to each of the subtests and goes through some common mistakes and how to avoid them, do's and don'ts, study tips, and much more. So if you're interested in enrolling in our free OET course, head on over to our website, www.swooshenglish.com, or you can click the link in the description below this video. Remember, the course is absolutely free. So I hope that you'll make use of that free resource, and I will see you very soon in another video. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye.